Hey guys, what's going on? It's Daitooka. Today we're going to be talking about Devil Jin's punishment tools. This video is aimed more at beginner and intermediate players that want to get a bit of an insight as to what punishment they should be using from a technical standpoint in terms of frames. He actually has many different frame options to cover a wide variety of unsafe moves. Hence, in this video, I'm going to probably just talk about the important ones for the most part. This punish tool guide is going to be a bit more informal, however, I will edit the information of each of the moves I'm talking about as I speak about them. We'll start off with Devil Jin's standing punishment. We'll start a 10 frame punishment here, beginning with Devil Jin's 1-1-2. 1-1-2 is a 10 frame knockdown jab string that does 25 damage. Again, it is a knockdown on hit, and it is minus 17 on block. So you definitely want to be sure that the move you're punishing is at least minus 10 before you let this rip, otherwise you can eat a nasty launcher. Keep in mind that the third hit, the 2 of the string, is actually delayable, hence this is a hit confirmable punishment string. This is part of what makes it so good. You can sort of check that your punish is in fact a 10 frame punish, hit confirm the first 2 hits, and you have plenty of time to confirm the third and final hit for the knockdown. In previous games, the knockdown distance was much better for Devil Jin. Your opponent was a lot closer on hit, allowing for a better wave dash mix-up or some other mix-up that you wanted to employ afterwards. But this is actually done with some purpose in this game, and I'll explain why. Basically, when you knock down your opponent, you have the opportunity to go for a manual Morning Crow mix-up, which is done by just pressing forward 3. Now, when you do the Morning Crow mix-up, first of all, you do have to slightly delay the button that you press. I'll try and show that here, but if you press it too quickly, it actually whiffs due to the distance. So you slightly delay the option that you choose. For the most part, your opponent actually can't interrupt you. And especially with the options we'll talk about, I'll explain how they work. So let's just say you knock down your opponent. The first option you want to consider using is his Morning Crow 1. Basically, if your opponent gets up, they're either forced to get hit by this if they press a button, or have to block for the frame advantage on block. So Morning Crow 1 is +8. You're in a very favorable plus frame position there. Now let's just say your opponent starts to adapt to this and they no longer just get up mindlessly after a 1-1-2 knockdown, and let's just say they start staying on the ground. Well, Devil Jin has an option to cover this as well. Morning Crow 3 actually hits grounded and will flip your opponent for +16 Oki. And don't be deceived, because this actually has some reach. If they stay down, the move itself actually has a pretty large hitbox. You can see some sort of fragments coming off of chain fragments coming off of Devil Jin's legs, so there is actually a lot of reach to this move. Otherwise, they're going to eat some pretty significant damage. I mean, grounded, this does 20 damage, so they're not going to want to eat this for too long. Next up at 10 frames, we're going to talk about 1-2-2. 1-2-2 is a classic Mishima punishment string. It also does 25 damage and is actually +4 on hits. It is slightly hit confirmable as well for the first 2 hits. And it is -12 on block. So not as punishable as 1-1-2 on block, but just keep that in mind. So if you miss punish, you will eat some decent damage. It's a little bit advanced, but the best use out of this punisher over 1-1-2 would be to check how your opponent actually reacts to a slightly minor situation, whether they want to press a button or whether they want to respect your frames. You have to really see how they respond to this situation. Depending on how they usually respond, you can sort of gauge whether you go for a mix-up or you just want to mid-check them with down forward 1. You can go into a lot of options here. The final 10 frame standing punish we'll talk about is 2-2. 2-2 is Devil Jin's damage-oriented option at a 10 frame punish. So it does 29 damage, the max damage out of all the 10 frame options. It is -2 on hit, so you do slightly lose your turn. And on block, it is -13. So just be careful throwing this out there willy-nilly. You can get into some trouble. Now moving on, we're at 12 frames. So Devil Jin has a pretty good 12 frame punish. It is back 1-2. So it is a 12 frame standing punish. It is a high mid string. It does 30 damage on hit and it results into a knockdown very similar to 1-1-2. This is minus 14, so just be careful with this one. The great thing about back 1-2 is that it is slightly hit confirmable, and on top of that, it is pseudo safe. And what I mean by that is that you can actually cancel the second hit of the string if you notice that the first doesn't hit. So this is done by pressing back 1-2 and holding back. So if you want to let this rip, you let go of the back input and you get back 1-2 in its full glory. If you notice that the first hit is blocked, you can hold back and the second hit won't come out, and it is pseudo safe. Next up, at 13 frames, we've got Devil Jin's down forward 4-4. This is his axe kick. It does decent damage at 26 damage. Just keep in mind that it is -4 on hit and force crouch. Just be mindful that this is one of his quickest punishers that's also launch punishable. The main reason you'd want to use this string as a 13 frame punish would be to punish your opponent whilst they might be either evading a high or crushing a high. Unfortunately, back 1-2 or your other jab options all start with highs, therefore you will completely miss your opponent. So it's both mid attacks, slightly hit confirmable as well. I wouldn't even say slightly hit confirmable, it is very hit confirmable. Up at 14 frames, we've got back 2-3. This is now a heat engager in this game. So as a heat engager, it'll leave you +17, ready to get into some sort of mix-up if you choose to. I forgot to mention the damage. It is 34 damage. And on normal hit, whilst already in heat, it's going to be a knockdown. Either inside of heat or outside of heat, it is -14. The next move that we'll talk about at 14 frames is the almighty Electric Wind God Fist, or EWGF, which is done with forward, neutral, down forward, +2. So the down forward and the 2 must be done at the same time. You can technically do a 14 frame Wind God Fist, however, you would really just try to do the electric for the max damage. The windy, as I showed first, was 20 damage. Electric is 23 damage. So an electric is launch on hits, and on block, it is +5 with pushback. Just be careful because the Wind God Fist is -10, so a keen opponent will punish you with this. For anything that's -14, I wouldn't beat yourself up if you can't punish it with an electric. This is elite level Tekken we're talking. But if you practice long enough, if you practice this over a long enough period of time, you can really nail this and start to block punish things that are at least -14 or -15 with the electric. Next up, the easy mode 15 frame launcher. Devil Jin doesn't have a hop kick or a down forward 2, launching down forward 2 rather, but he does have the can, which is down 3 +4. So it's a 15 frame standing launcher, does 25 damage and allows for a full combo. This is -15 on block, so you can get launched if you miss punish this. For most beginner to intermediate players, for anything that's -15, you can just use this as your launcher. I use this a lot. It's a great move. It's consistent. Really, consistency beats max damage 9 times out of 10. Now, the final move I want to mention for a standing punish is Devil Jin's up 4, the Samsara. So this is a 20 frame punish. It is a little bit slower. It's mainly going to be used for your Matterhorns or your Atlas Hammers, something with a big minus. It does 22 damage on the first hit, but allows for a full combo as shown here. Keep in mind though that this is quite unsafe. It is -25 on block. Okay, next up we're going to talk about the while standing punishment. Up at 11 frames you have while standing 4-4. Now while standing 4-4 for Devil Jin has been buffed big time in Tekken 8. It used to be minus on hit in the older games, but it is now +4 with this new animation, which also forces them into a crouch. So what this means is now you essentially have your turn on hit, and you can go for a mid check, you can mix up your opponent if you feel like they're respecting you. There's a lot of options to go from here. On top of that, I believe the damage has been buffed as well. 30 damage from an 11 frame punish at while standing is amazing. So please make good use of this. It's great at this sort of damage and +4. The main downside is that it is -16 on block. So you will get launched if this is blocked. At 13 frames, we have Devil Jin's while standing 1-2. So his twin piston is also changed in Tekken 7. If you use while standing 1-2 on its own, it does push your opponent quite far away, leave you at +6. The main purpose for this is to go into a Morning Crow mix-up at plus 14 by holding forward after hitting while standing 1-2. On block, it is minus 11, so you will get jab punished for the most part. But the main utility is using this as a Morning Crow mix-up on hit. At 14 frames, Devil Jin can use this while standing 3 and hold forward into a similar Morning Crow mix-up. However, I would probably be inclined to go with while standing 1-2 instead, just for the damage that you get for the exact same Morning Crow plus on block situation. Sorry, plus on hit situation. While standing 3 is 16 damage versus while standing 1-2 is 27 damage. And it is much like while standing 1-2, also minus 11 on block. So you're not really gaining anything here, but it is an option if you wanted to use it. So now up at 15 frames, we have Devil Jin's while standing 2, which is a 20 damage launcher. Keep in mind that this launcher does instantly spend your screw if you choose to use it. It is only minus 12 on block, so it's not too bad. You're not going to eat a ton of damage from your opponent here. But this launcher is a great tool for Devil Jin to have. Allows for a full combo despite it instantly bounding. The final mention for Devil Jin's while standing punishment is actually up 4 again. This can be used from crouch with the same input. You just press up 4. Allows you to get a full launch with the same combo as mentioned in the standing position. So it's 20 frames fast. Does 22 damage on its first hit and gives you a launching combo, and it is once again minus 25 on block. So don't go throwing this out there for things that it cannot punish. I would reserve this for things like Hell Sweep, Black Hole, those sorts of lows which are stagger block lows. That just about covers the punishment tools for Devil Jin in Tekken 8. I hope this video helps you with your future games. You can definitely look at these moves depending on how fast their startup is. You can see how they best suit certain situations in the game and really optimize your punishment overall. Devil Jin is a big damage character, and to maximize this the best you can, you should really look at aiding your increased damage with optimized punishment. If you did find this guide helpful, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I upload a bunch of Tekken 8 content on this channel, and I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Daitooka. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you later. Thanks.